Welcome to Let's Talk Criterion, where we'll be previewing forthcoming releases on Blu-ray and 4K in the Criterion collection, both here in the UK and in the US. Now, we come in this edition to 3 Janus Contemporary releases, all releasing in the US on Tuesday the 17th of October, and we begin with EO. EO is a beautiful homage to Robert Brisson's Au hasard de Balthazar. Now, let's face it, there are not many films out there about donkeys, but Polish director Jerzy Skolimowski has done Brisson proud with EO. Many also thought so at Cannes in 2022, when they awarded the film Joint Jury Prize. It was also nominated for Best International Feature Film at the 95th Academy Awards earlier this year. The film's told in a non-linear fashion, and mainly from the perspective of the donkey itself. Humans intervene throughout the film, but none really take centre stage in the narrative, and rightly so, because that's what makes the film what it is, and it's a skillful screenplay written by his producer, Ewa Pazowska, and himself. EO is so named because of the braying sound that he makes. He's being worked in a circus act, but he has to be let go because of legislation about using animals in this way. He winds up at a donkey sanctuary from which he's freed and then captured in the streets by a council worker for whose football team EO becomes a mascot. But then he's beaten by the hooligans supporting the opposing team, attacking them, and he's captured by a gang trading in illicit horse and donkey meat, and he's finally rescued by a troubled young aristocrat whose haughty and devout mama, that's a tasty cameo for Isabelle Huppert, disapproves of her son's louche gambling ways. Now, we really feel for this animal as it aimlessly wanders from one situation to another, encountering nice and not so nice people along the way. We feel concerned for EO as well as jubilation for him when the animal appears to have freedom, only for these circumstances to suddenly change for the worse. Now, the use of music by a classical composer and a beautiful cinematography carries us through with the imagery and almost allegorical nature of this feature. It's seen through the melancholic eyes of a donkey. Jerzy Skolimowski depicts a post-human odyssey across the absurdity of human cruelty and its relationship with nature. It's a masterclass on cinematic language, and as a means of expression, the film portrays a melange of euphoric and traumatic experiences with a striking colour palette, daunting sound design, and an almost brutalist approach in its editing. Traversing a borderless Europe, EO embarks on a transient journey filled with magical realism and allegories. Enchanting the audience, this film allows for an experience of metamorphosis and of transcendence. Now, the point that Skolimowski is making particularly is to care for animals and nature and regard their needs and feelings above our own. At points there is simulated animal torture, but at no time were any of the animals featured put under undue stress, and they were in fact very well looked after. 6 donkeys jointly play the part of EO. They are Holla, Taco, Marietta, Ettore, Rocco and Mela. In fact, at no point is the actual donkey's sex mentioned, but it's clear that there is female and male animals used in the film. But it naturally is assumed that it's a male donkey. Skolimowski was interviewed and stated that he wanted to move away from the standard 3-act dialogue-driven pieces that are mostly done and take a completely different approach. He incorporated a strong music score and minimal dialogue, and he was inspired, as I said earlier, by the Robert Bresson feature, and he admitted the ending brought him to tears. For him, it was more the collaboration he managed to achieve on this film that he was particularly proud of. Now, it was produced by co-writer Ewa Pazowska, a Warsaw-based Skopje film, alongside Skolimowski. Several key crew had worked with Skolimowski before, among them the film's composer Paweł Makietan, editor Agnieszka Glinska, and the sound designer Radek Ochnio. Now, the Polish portion of the film was sandwiched by a few days in sunny Sicily and in Rome. EO's first shooting day, albeit with a minimal crew, took place in the town of Custonaci in Sicily in early 2020, just before the COVID pandemic hit and closed down the world. These scenes appear in the finished film as flashbacks. The last shooting day took place on the outskirts of Rome in early March of 2022. A long time frame indeed, reflects the producer, and between the world became a wholly different place. Skolimowski's travels with his donkey took him all over Poland. The crew were privileged to capture the stunning and wild nature of Port Karpacki and the sleeping beauty of a small town in Mazuri, as well as one of its historic stables. The last shooting day for the film took place on the outskirts of Rome in early March of 2022. The film had a tight turnaround for editing to be ready for any advanced screenings. Now, the main cast is small, but as the dialogue's not driven by human beings, it's not necessary for it to have a large cast. And the cast consists of Sandra Drzajmalska as Cassandra, Lorenzo Zerzolo as Vito, Mateusz Kosiewicz as Matteo, Isabelle Huppert as the Countess. Criterion distributes this Janus film on Blu-ray with the following special features. That's the making of EO, a new conversation with writer-director Jerzy Skolimowski and writer-producer Ewa Pajazowska. All of the donkeys, an introduction to the 6 Sardinian donkeys who play EO in the film. And there's a trailer. The film is a beautiful and touching story of an animal's trek to freedom, and of course it is a difficult road to travel, and true freedom is impossible for the beast to attain. EO's a running time of 88 minutes and comes in a 1:33:1 aspect ratio, and it releases on Blu-ray 17th of October. And if you're interested in the film in the UK, BFI released this as well on Blu-ray, and that release is available from most UK retailers. The second of the Janus Contemporaries is a film called No Bears. It's by Iranian director and actor Jafar Panahi, and he writes, acts and directs in this film shot in secret in Iran. It's really 2 films in one. It starts with what appears to be a film shoot taking place in Turkey with the character Zara, that's Mina Kavani, meeting her friend Bakhtiar Panjai to get an illegal passport. But then we hear a conversation taking place that is clearly a director who's talking to his assistant director Reza, played by Reza Haidar. But he's not on location with the crew. He's in a small village on a remote link, and that quickly loses its connection. He's a guest there of a resident called Ganbar, played by Vahid Moshabari, and therein lies the real story, and it's one of staunch tradition and superstition. Whilst he innocently takes some pictures outside of local kids in the village, he, unbeknownst to him, inadvertently snaps a shot of a young couple alongside them. When assistant director Reza visits Panay, the pair take a severely tinged night trip to the Turkish border, and it's a haunting and dangerous no man's land, peopled by smugglers and speeding vehicles. And he invites the filmmaker to step across the invisible line that divides his country from its neighbour. But Panay has become embroiled in his own domestic drama, his camera having inadvertently drawn him into a dispute between 2 men, both of whom are attempting to claim the hand of a local girl. A deputation arrives, insisting that he go and swear that he did not have a photograph in his possession, essential business to do with the young woman's betrothed through a strange and binding traditional ceremony. Now, there's a distinct feeling of unease that permeates this, and things continue to worsen as more and more villagers get involved, culminating with the sheriff getting involved, and then he begins to feel he's very unwelcome, but he's never told to actually leave. "What about the bears?" asks Panay as he takes an evening stroll to the outskirts of the village with the sheriff. "There are no bears," replies his companion, assuring him, this metropolitan incomer, that whilst townspeople have problems with authorities, we have problems with superstition. It's all just nonsense. Stories made up to scare us. Our fears empower others, no bears. The film shows the blind power that superstition and following age-old tradition can lead to, and how an instant action like taking a photograph can mushroom out of control. Meanwhile, the actors in Turkey are starting to doubt the integrity of their director, whose docudrama threatens to tear them apart in real life, creating 2 parallel love stories that eerily mirror and reflect each other's sinister power struggles. Jafar Panahi executes his narrative in an almost perfunctory manner, and he navigates his character's journey through this melee of misfortune happenstance. The Iranian auteur Jafar Panahi was detained and ordered to serve a 6-year prison sentence, the latest politically motivated attempt to silence an artist who has been banned from making movies since 2010. Now, despite this ban, Panay's remained a creative thorn in the side of the Iranian authorities. His provocatively entitled "This Is Not a Movie" from 2011 was smuggled out of Iran on a USB stick hidden inside a cake and premiered to great acclaim at the Cannes Film Festival. His next two features, The Closed Curtain from 2013 and Taxi Tehran from 2015, earned him a Silver and Golden Bear at the Berlin Film Festival, while Three Faces from 2018 won him Best Screenplay at Cannes. This latest stripped-down work from the world's most quietly defiant cineast has already deservedly picked up the Special Jury Prize at Venice and the Award for Cinematic Bravery at the Chicago International Film Festival. Meanwhile, in Miami, where the director was given the film festival's Precious Gem Award, they set up an audio message, and that was recorded in prison, and found Panay Rai declaring, "I wish that I could make films instead of receiving awards, because I have dreams that go beyond all the awards in the world." And what dreams they are. No Bears has some special features, but they're fairly sparse given the circumstances surrounding the filming. On Panay's Films, a new interview with filmmaker Ramin Barani about director Jafar Panani's work. Panani speaks from prison. That's a very interesting interview. Then there's a trailer. No Bears has a running time of 106 minutes, and it's in an aspect ratio of 185:1, and it's available on Blu-ray from Tuesday the 17th of October. And I've already seen this film, as it received a release in the UK on Blu-ray from distributor Picture House, and I really enjoyed the film. And the final of the three Janus Contemporaries is Louis Garrel's film L'Innocent, or The Innocent. It's a 2022 French crime comedy film directed by Louis Garrel from a screenplay by Garrel, Tanguy Ville and Naliela Guigué. It stars Roshdi Zem, Anouk Grinberg and Noémie Merlon, and Garrel himself. The film had its world premiere out of competition at the 75th Cannes Film Festival on the 24th of May 2022. It was released in France on the 12th of October of that year by Ad Vitam Distribution. The film received a leading 11 nominations at the 48th César Awards and won in two categories, including Best Original Screenplay and Best Supporting Actress for Merlon. It's a very French kind of heist comedy, stylishly shot and thick with emotion, grief and romance. It's very still keen to entertain. Co-writer and director Louis Garrel, who comes from a famous French film lineage. His father, of course, is Nouvelle Vague director Philippe Garrel. His mother is the actor Brigitte C. Now also stars as Abel, an aquarium tour guide, a little lost in life after his wife died. If Abel is mopey and self-serious, the people in his life are the opposite of that. His colleague and friend, and perhaps more, that's Clémence, played by Noémie Merlon, is peppy and impulsive. His mother, Sylvie, played by Anouk Grinberg, is a drama teacher who gives acting lessons in prison and is finding a new zest from life in middle age. She embarks on a teenage-esque romance with one of her students, Rosti Zem, in the clink, and decides to get married, much to Abel's suspicion. Handsomely shot with some effortlessly cool compositions and soundtrack choices. Sure enough, Abel's new stepdad hasn't quite shaken off the con from ex-con, and all four of them find themselves swept up in a big money heist. It's a French film after all. Now there is a screwball approach to all of it, and it's fun to see Noémie Merlon in a more playful role than she usually takes, even if the main subplot she's afforded, that's a burgeoning romance between Abel and Clémence, feels a little overly familiar. Garrel knows how to maintain tension as well throughout the film, without giving the audience a panic attack, and he even manages to imbue it with stylistic flair here and there. For instance, the fact that Abel and Clémence work at an aquarium certainly helps with unusual visuals. But the entertainment value of The Innocent lies not in the actual heist itself. That amounts to nothing more than a shipment of caviar at a truck stop, but its light-hearted comedy is what seals it through. It's by-the-numbers romance plot, and its relatable family drama grafted onto an absurd premise. It is, as one character orders at a diner, a Coke Zero with sugar of a film. In Zem, Garrel has smartly cast not only an actor but a celebrated director in his own right. As well as acting, Garrel also has direction and co-writing duties on the film. It's his fourth feature at the helm, and this is a handsome package with slicing dialogue and fizzy camera work, beautifully played dialogue scenes, and the action sequences are few and a bit muddled, and the dividing of our attention between the two couples means that there's no central comedy engine to create especially funny set pieces. The film is distributed by the Criterion Collection in the US on Blu-ray with the following smattering of supplemental features. We have Meet the Filmmakers, a new interview with the director Louis Garrel, and just with that, a trailer. The Innocent manages to be stylish and sluggish, snappy and choppy all at once. To fall in love, you have to be a good actor, and it seems to be telling us this. And yet you also have to steal hearts. And this is a movie that doesn't quite pull that scam off. The Innocent, or L'Innocent, has a running time of 98 minutes, and it's a widescreen aspect ratio, and again is available from Tuesday the 17th of October. Now we can look forward to 3 more Janus Contemporaries next month. That's Tori and Lokita from 2-time Palme d'Or winners Jean-Pierre and Luc Dardenne, Godland from the Icelandic director Hilnora Palmason, and The It Mountains from directors Felix van Groeningen and Charlotte van der Meesch. In the next edition of Let's Talk Criterion, we look at the 4K UHD release of The Others with Nicole Kidman, and that's coming to the collection. And I'll just mention that the 4K UHD release of Days of Heaven from Terrence Malick is now going to be delayed until the 5th of December. We're not sure why at this stage, but we'll keep you posted if any more news comes to light. Until the next edition from me, it's goodbye, and above all, good viewing.